Jane is coming to us from the Energy Wellness Center. And Jane is passionate about self-care and energy awareness and energy alignment. Thank you for being here, Jane, and welcome to the stage.
Thank you so much, Marcy. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I'm here really to talk about energy alignment and the importance of how we can really resource ourselves in a different way than what we're used to. And I really got my start in my career probably as a pharmacist, where I was very engaged with the medical field and very kind of analytical and in the science mode. And yet there was definitely something more that was happening, and working in that field, and in particular having a business, was not really what I expected. I had one of those moments where it's like, ooh, if this is all there is, it's not really working. And had offers to sell my business, which I did, and then moved into the area of studying energy. And I had a wonderful friend who was my first teacher, who I began with. And the weekend of that first class, every single plant in my house bloomed. And I had one plant bloom that I didn't even know was a flowering plant. It was about 20 years old. So there was this tangible change of what was happening that I literally could not explain. And the awarenesses that came working in that field and developing some skills and language to support myself with energy really made so many aspects of my life make sense that did not make sense previously. And I still work in the medical fields. I work as a pharmacist still in the hospital, and I still enjoy that work. I find it very inspiring and valuable, and it has its place. And I kind of began in the energy work, working in palliative care and kind of the end of life, because there you're in this place of spirit and there's something more that is really happening there. And from there circled around into what I would call the origin of life and the mystery of conception and birth and all of that. So things took this little trajectory energetically, which was really interesting and full of this rich learning, many trainings, many teachers, many classes later, kind of developed my own skills about working in the energy field, which I now call inviting people into this wonder zone, because inside of all of us, there is this timeless space. And we're so used to being loud and busy and active and doing things. And the way that we hear that little soft voice is to be very still and very quiet. So I hold a space where people can engage with that inner part of themselves and reconnect to that little voice that is the inspiration of their being, and come into an alignment that engages all of their energy systems. And when people are in that place, the things that are overwhelming and chaotic in their life dissolve away as they gain focus and really start to appreciate and learn the preciousness of themselves and cherish themselves in this divine way, which is just an amazing transformation that I see over and over again.
So, Jane, tell us a little bit about how you integrate kind of both of your worlds, because as a pharmacist, you're very linear and systematic and scientific, and as you know, working in the energy field might be a little bit more kind of abstract. Tell us a little bit about how you integrate those, and then I'll ask a follow-up question. So tell us first a little bit about how you live in both worlds.
It's really interesting, actually, to be in that place, because it's such an extreme difference from one to the other. And at the beginning of studying energy therapies, I had a lot of fear and concerns about would I be taken seriously in the medical world and would I be respected as a pharmacist, you know, if I was even brave enough to study in that realm. And we're starting to see in our medical systems more and more use of energy therapies and different therapies. And we'll hear different specific ones that are used in different medical facilities. It's much more common in other areas of the world than it is in Canada. But even at the Stollery and the Cross, they have studied the use of Reiki and Qigong and had phenomenal results. And still there's some resistance there to really embracing them because, you know, generally people do not understand what it is to work in that way. And what I find is working with people, when we talk about energy, when they learn a few skills, when they develop a little bit of a language, this is what we already know. We are actually energetic beings. Our children in particular are in this world of energy. And as adults and parents and grandparents, I think our mission is to even keep that alive in them. So many of my clients, I do actually walk that walk with them to help them integrate those two different ways of accessing health, because we're going to use all of our best therapies that we can. We're going to engage in our medical systems, use all the psychiatric support that is available in the spiritual community of our churches and our other support means. But the way that we work inside of ourselves and ignite to that inner wellness that is this infusion energy, this creation energy that is part of each one of us, that is a little bit different. And that's where we really have this potential for the creation of health and to be in alignment where things just all seem to come together and work out. And you see these miraculous healings that are unexplained. You see people overcoming years of depression or long-standing things that they don't understand, relationship issues that can be resolved in ways that are so healthy. And it provides just a foundation of looking at the world in a totally different way. And it's really life-changing for many people.
Beautiful. So what would you recommend to people? Because in my experience, I think sometimes, you know, we might get frustrated with the medical system or modern medicine or even pharmaceuticals and start to look towards those alternative therapies or different modalities. And I think sometimes we think it's one or the other, but you are clearly proving that it doesn't have to be, that it can, you know, it can be both. So what would you recommend to somebody who's maybe looking for that bridge or that connection between the two?
What I would recommend is to begin at the beginning before you're even sick, because it's like the part of healthcare that we never learned as children when we learned about physical health, eating a good diet, exercising, all of those things. No one taught us how to care for our energy. And so for me, the foundational piece is to just begin whenever you have that inspiration. People have that little sense, like a curiosity or a knowing that's really, it's already in us because we already know this, but no one is talking about it or supporting it or encouraging us to explore it. That little knowing is that I am so much more than this human body that I am. And it's really true. Our essence is so much greater than that. And so if people are starting to not feel well in particular, or if they're starting to have some medical, maybe not even intervention, but they might be doing testing and they haven't named what it might be. It might not even be diagnosable. They might have, you know, a long-standing pain, and the medical system is unable to find anything that they can document or name. Those kinds of situations are in what I would call this wonder zone of opportunity, because we can do this energetic realignment work that gets everything back on board. And whether the origin of that is trauma or wounding or, belief systems or whatever it might be, there's an alignment piece that just helps dissolve so much of that out of the way and literally out of the body as well. So it's like this core piece. Everything is energy. Our food is energy. Our water is energy. Our earth is made of energy. All of our elements. These are just basic foundational pieces. And we can access them because they're already there, like they're intrinsically available. We just need to let people know, oh yeah, you can engage with that and let it support you, become the co-creator of your own health and your own aligned life, which really transforms all of these different levels that we live on.
Right. Amazing. So do you have something that you can teach us, something that you can share with us? We all know what's going on in the world right now, and some of that is shifting and some of it is getting worse to some extent. Is there something that we can do to kind of help our energy or, shift things a little bit? Is there a quick and easy tool that you have as a go-to?
Sure. I actually do energy work every single day. And the foundation for my whole being is to have balancing in our bodies and in our systems every day. One of the easy and quickest techniques is literally brushing off the energy that doesn't belong to us. And we can do this for ourselves, and we can do this with our children before they're going to bed or when they're coming home from school or whatever their experience might be. And it's very profound for them. And I can walk you through that if you'd like to.
Sure, if we could do that
quickly,
is there time? Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just start on your shoulder with one hand and sweep down and off your fingertips. Then go to the other shoulder and sweep down and off your fingertips. And back to that first shoulder and off. Shake your hands. Now we're going to do from the shoulders to the hip, starting on the one side across your body over the heart and down across the hip. Then the other side. These are these big diagonals that connect this energy from left to right and helps it to get circulating in a healthy way. And just shake that off. And then just breathe. And I recommend working in the medical fields. I encourage my nurses to do this in between seeing one patient and the next patient, or if you're in an office, you can do it between one meeting and the next meeting. And it just has this overall clearing effect. So you might even notice that your body feels a little bit different, a little bit lighter. There might be some tingliness is common, or that magnetic feeling. And it's really easy. Using energy techniques are fast and they're very, very easy. Our energy is so responsive because it's not physical. Our body, that physical part of us, is like the last kind of part of us that gets these things to land. Yeah.
That's so fabulous. Such a great tool that anybody can use anywhere. Thank you for sharing that. We do have a couple of questions coming in, so we're going to get to those in a minute. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. But before we get to those, Jane, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned a couple of times the Wonderzone. What is the Wonderzone, and how can we find it, and what does it look like when we get there?
Yeah. Oh, the Wonderzone is absolutely the place to be. And it's this presence that we have with ourselves when we actually are in that timeless engagement with ourselves at the heart level. And when we are in this place of alignment, it's a magical feeling, for one thing, to be in this timeless space and to hear that little voice as, your true self speaking to you is divine, if that should happen for people. But the things in your life, like having all green lights on the way to work, is a little bit like my plants all blooming when I did my first studies in energy. Life just lines up. You got a parking spot right in front of the entrance when you get there. all of these things just seem to take on kind of an ease and grace that doesn't have the resistance of all of the congestion that is in our world typically. Yeah.
Wonderful. So the first question we have for you is, do you still make the plants bloom often?
Well, I actually spend time talking to them, and our plants are actually wonderful beings as well. You can go on YouTube and listen to audios of the forest communicating with itself with an actual audible sound, or the sounds that plants make. And they are very responsive to being given a little bit of love and recognition, and they will communicate with us. So if I've got blooming plants, you can bet that I'm in there encouraging them.
Wonderful. Zandra has a couple of questions here for you. What was the energy system you discovered that no one had known about previously? The one for which you won the award. You could tell us a little bit more about that. And how does it fit in with the familiar systems?
Well, thank you, Zandra. That's a great question. The foundation of my work really was learning systems that were well developed. And I had my original teacher, which was from Fort Saskatchewan, who was so wonderful, Margaret Langston. And then the next training I took, which was very involved, was energy medicine by an instructor who was a professor of psychiatric nursing. That was a huge program, and I studied it for many years and became an instructor. And what I found was that when I would come to what would be typically the end of a session, there'd be this other piece that I was called to work with. And so I would just follow guidance that I was receiving as I was working with people. And what actually developed was identifying an energy system that hadn't been documented in any of these other formats that I had known before. And I called it crystal consciousness, the energy of our collective thought fields. And what I understood from the work I did with it is that we are actually having this relationship with that field. And now you hear lots of people talking about that collective thought field or the collective energy. And we know that we are impacted by it greatly. It's like the ocean that we're swimming in. Our culture and our belief systems and prejudices and judgments are all really anchored there. The thing that I discovered that was so different was that we are actually having a direct role in what that collective consciousness is by our thoughts, words, and deeds. And so there's this interplay of energy that is both radiant from ourselves and also coming into us from that energy field. And it is actually something tangibly available for us to modulate and work with in our energy system. So I was able to document that and present it at an international conference. And I did win an award, an international award for that, for bringing new knowledge to the field of energy medicine. And since that time, there's been 4 more that have come in. So I work with all of these different energy systems. One of them is the sacred geometry. And I have to laugh because I'm still working in pharmacy. And at the beginning, my instructor in energy medicine, Mary Jo Bulbrook, had said, well, you could look at the energy of medicine. And I'm like, it's a Band-Aid. I'm not going to look at that. But now what I'm actually realizing is that our medications, if you look at the structures of them, are sacred geometry. And our bodies also are sacred geometry. And Carolyn Mace had said that energy therapies would become as common as taking an aspirin a day. This was in her very early writings in the 80s. And I have to say we're not there yet, but we are kind of shifting that direction. And she said when that happened, we would realize that absolutely everyone with any role to play in any level of our health, whether it would be the physician, the nurse, the cleaning staff, the kitchen, you would all know that you are part of each other's experience, and that it is all very purposeful and synchronistic, and you are there to learn from each other and support each other in this greater unity of being in this humanity, which is just really an amazing and phenomenal way to look at that. And that actually shifted the way I look at all of our medicine, because our physicians and our nurses, they're so highly skilled. Well, they chose that profession because they're gifted healers. That's what brought them into that field in the first place. So we can help them engage with their spirit and be that holy person and divine person they are. Yeah.
Wow, that is so incredible. Such beautiful wisdom. And I love the integration of, the modern medicine and the energetic work. It's just, I mean, it's something that I'm very passionate about as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. Congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
We're almost out of time, but before we close out, you do have a gift for everyone who's here tonight.
I do, yes. I created a meditation. It's a birch tree meditation, about 10 minutes long. And it is a way of just allowing yourself this space to get quiet with yourself and engage with your energy. Learn how it's actually running in your body and engage with it, and help you ground, which is to become much more present. So what we're actually going through, I think, at this time in sort of humanity, is that we're learning to embody our spirit in a different way and really harness the energy of ourselves. So that meditation is based on the metaphor of a birch tree, which is to have this beautiful energy coming into us. And just like a birch tree will slough off its bark without any pain or drama, or, this like peaceful evolution of this tree as it grows and evolves and changes. It just sloughs off those old layers that don't serve it anymore, right? And we really are like that. We're intrinsically filled with this beautiful energy, and we radiate it beyond ourselves. And the things that are just not in that resonance energetically dissolve away with this grace and beauty and magnificence. And to be in the Wonderzone would be to live in that place every single day. So that is my goal that I strive for myself and for my clients. So I invite them to come into the Wonderzone on a daily basis.
Beautiful. How can we access your meditation? That's such a generous offering. And I think that there are many of us that, are looking forward to getting that grounding and that relaxation and shedding some of that bark